Michael, top 16 in the world. Gotta be happy with that.
Yeah, I definitely would have signed for that if you put that on the table when I moved to France. How many months ago was that? In March, I guess. It was always something that I looked forward to, but obviously I've had a little bit of trouble in the past with getting to race the worlds and qualifying. So this year it was kind of like about enjoying these first few races, getting some experience out of them, but also in the back of my head, I wanted to race these worlds. It's in France. I think I spoke to you about it before. I'm running for a French bike at a French club. I wanted to race the French worlds, and I had a feeling it would be special with the crowd and everything, and it sure did deliver.
Certainly got the crowd riled up. I think it was Saturday I was watching. I think it was that lap you managed to pull a good time on, and the crowd was cheering for you just like you were one of theirs.
Yeah, it's a weird feeling actually. I remember sitting on the gate in my 1/8, and Eddie Clertet was in lane 1. Yeah, and I was in lane 4, and they gave him like an amazing sort of cheer. It was kind of uplifting. I don't know for all of us, but it was for me. Like just hearing that, I was like, wow, like this is cool. This is what I race BMX. And as they cruised along, like the other riders wouldn't really get any cheers at all, and they came to me, and I certainly heard a few people in the crowd cheering for me. Whether that's the Kiwis that came over or some of the Frenchies, I don't know. But it was a cool feeling to actually feel supported on the other side of the world. But yeah, what an insane crowd.
It was insane racing too. I don't know if it was the track or just what was on the line, but the racing was just out of control. Even some of the big hitters going out early, and it's interesting to see both Kimmin and Shriver not even make the final, and it just goes to show the depth of the field just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's out of control. I just can't put it to words.
Yeah, I definitely. You're right, and it definitely shows how much our sport is growing, but it shows how much our sport is unpredictable. Like on the first day, we had the round 1 LCQ and 1/8 final, and Romain Mayu, Diego Arboleda, Cedric Booty, Stefan Heil, which are some pretty big names. They all went out on day 1, and I honestly thought the track might be a little bit single file, and sort of if you've got a good first straight, you'll cruise on through. But I think I was proven wrong, or maybe it's just on how fast everyone's getting down that first straight now. It was just whoever could get the best gate when they needed to, and yeah, I think the racing was amazing. I think the track was amazing. I've honestly heard no complaints about anything. Like, there's always something people complain about. I haven't heard a complaint about anything. So, yeah, how cool, how cool. I feel so privileged. Sorry,
Go ahead.
I feel so privileged to be involved with like that event, like with the track, with the crowd. I heard Thomas Elliott say to someone like he doesn't remember a crowd being this good. Obviously, him being world champion from the early 2000s when BMX was arguably bigger than it is now. To hear someone like him say that about the crowd on the weekend is like, wow, like I think I was just a part of something special. And I actually remember on the semi-final just thinking, like, I was on top of the 8 meter calling out the names, and I just looked out at the crowd, and I was just thinking, like, I don't know if I'll ever experience something this cool ever again. And yeah, I'm glad I could take in the moment, to be honest.
What did that mean with your relationship with the high performance team over in New Zealand? Are they going to pick you up again?
I wouldn't have a clue, seriously. Yeah, I wouldn't have a clue. I think, yeah, no idea.
Yeah. What about your Kiwi mates? Some of them did pretty well. Rico Beerman was flying during the motos and unfortunately had another bad final. There's quite a few Kiwis out there. They seem to be getting faster and faster and way more competitive. Who was a standout amongst the team for you?
Yeah, it was actually quite cool. We had maybe a team of 10 championship riders. might be wrong there, but just like this first time probably I've ever felt like we've had a solid New Zealand team where we included everyone at the race and got a team photo before, which was quite cool. That was a really cool, I guess, atmosphere amongst the Kiwis. We had 2 big gazebos to fit everyone in, where last year it was me, Rico, and Bennett. I think that was it. Hope I didn't miss anyone. And we had to share a tent with like Chile, Norway. We shared one little tent with like 3 or 4 other countries. It was like hectic. Like everyone's in your way. It was just crazy. So this year, like we had a big tent. We had our own space. It actually felt like a team, which was really cool. And like you said, yeah, Rico was on fire all day. A bit unlucky in that final, but the under 23 class is so deep in talent. So I think it's probably 4 or 5 of those boys that could have won. Wasn't his day, unfortunately. But also on the women, we had Megan make the final, getting a little bit unlucky in the final to crash. We had Leela, who was going strong all day. She crashed in the semi, but semi is a good result. And we had a few other riders that were really strong as well. So I think it was a good showing from New Zealand, especially because a lot of these riders hadn't raced since pre-COVID. Some of them, like Jack Greenoff, it was his first race sort of internationally in junior elite because he was 16 boys, I guess, before COVID. So that was a cool showing from New Zealand. Good to see some of the Aussie boys come over as well. Kyle Hill was riding really good before his bars snapped, and yeah, it was cool to see the New Zealanders and Aussies taking over. Not really, but kind
of. What was it like? I mean, you talked a little bit about the atmosphere during the elites. What was it like to sit and watch the amateurs? You said you were going to do some of that while you were there.
Yeah, actually turned out we weren't allowed to, so they weren't letting any elite riders into watch the amateurs just because of COVID. So we had to get COVID tested on Thursday, which I think a couple of riders tested positive and they weren't allowed to race, which is crazy. So yeah, we weren't allowed to watch live, but I was sat behind the TV all day, every day, watching. Couldn't tell you what the atmosphere was like as I wasn't there. I heard it was pretty good, but the racing was really good. I'm sure you watched some, and the Australians actually did really good in the challenge classes. It was cool to see. And then to see all the challenge riders stay on and watch us, I got to meet a few Aussies, meet a few Kiwis, and it was awesome. There's nothing like the Worlds. There's nothing like it.
You did a pro signing. Was that on one of the elite days?
That was actually on the challenge day. So we were allowed in the facility, but we had to wear masks and have 2 tables between us and the kids. I want to say that was the Wednesday or Thursday. That was really cool. Actually, no Aussies or Kiwis came through to the signing. We were there for ages, probably 45 minutes signing, but it was just all French people. Yeah, it was awesome. Awesome experience, honestly. I don't know whether it was just because of France held it, but I've never sort of been to an event held that well before.
Did you see any new products?
Again, I didn't really go around looking.
Oh, of course. Sorry. It's sort of hard to comprehend that they would lock you down and keep you away from everyone. But when you say COVID, I guess it makes sense. But
and also, we had the riders area where obviously only the riders and team people can go, and then it was a different entry for the spectators in the team zone, like the not team tents, but like the stands, the booths. So I only went there sort of once for the signing session and stuff. So I didn't actually get to walk around there too much. And sort of one of my goals for this whole week was to control what I can control. And one of the big things was like, don't get distracted by everything else. So many distractions, especially for some reason. To me, like I said this last podcast, and I it's so true. Like it's just another race to me. It genuinely is. But the amount of exposure the Worlds has, the amount of messages I get before, the amount of attention you get before is unlike any other race. And like I honestly did block it out so well. I wasn't on my phone much at all, which sort of left me in a good space coming into the race. And yeah, it was crazy.
That gets me to a point. I don't think we've ever talked about mental preparation before each race. Do you actually, put your headphones on, crank up some music, and just clear your head, or do you have a different kind of preparation for each time you jump on the gate?
Well, I guess over the years, one thing you do learn is what makes you race good, whether you're serious, relaxed, like whatever, what sort of mood makes you race best. I've sort of figured that over the years, and I just always try and not get distracted because it's so easy to get distracted from what you do, whether it's warming up, listening to music, if you like listening to music, putting headphones on, whatever it is, like just trying to stick to those things. So for me personally, I like to stay relaxed and make sure I tick all the boxes, whether that's going for a spin the morning of a race day just to get the legs moving before warm up. Listening to music doesn't have to be in my headphones, like getting all intense, because I'm not an intense person. I'm quite a relaxed guy on race day. Like I just go with the flow type thing, but I just need a few things to be ticked before I can race. So yeah, I talk to my sports psychologist every now and again. I've probably spoken to him twice since being in Europe, and I spoke to him last week before the Worlds, and basically just went over 6 or 7 goals I wanted to do that week. Nothing to do with racing, nothing to do with being in the top 32 or whatever. Nothing to do with that. Just things that I can control. So some of them were to do with practice, what I wanted to do in practice, what I wanted to get out of practice, what I wanted to feel come race day on Saturday. Things like that I can control. So come racing, I'm not thinking, oh shit, I didn't do that big gear sprint I wanted to last week or something, and there's no doubts in your head, and that's what I really felt on the weekend. It was just like, I'm here, I've trained my ass off, whatever happens, I'm ready to go, let's go.
And is that exactly the same whether it's the World Championships or just a open event over in New Zealand?
Yeah, I guess sometimes it changes. Like, depends what you want out of the meet. Where on the weekend, I've expressed so much to you, to everyone, to myself, that it was the pinnacle race of the year. Like, it wasn't the only race I want to do good at. Obviously, I want to do good at every race, but it was the pinnacle race. Like, it's the world champs in France. So yeah, different things out of different races. Like if it's an open day and I've got gym the day before, I'm going to be tired. It's like, okay, let's just go fun. It doesn't actually matter about the result or whatever. Maybe you're not doing it to win. You're just doing it for fitness or for laps. I have different. I don't think you can prepare the same for any race because there's always different things on the line. But you try and keep as much the same as you can. Like I always want to be in the same mental space, like relaxed and enjoying it. And that's why I told myself all week, like just enjoy yourself. And without knowing, like when I enjoy myself, that's when I race the best. And like in the morning, every first lap I did, I'd just go and have fun on my bike. Whether, I don't know if you've seen on Instagram, did like a huge transfer the first lap. Some people might say it's a bit silly or a bit unneeded, but for me, like that's so fun. It gets me so like into the race day, ready to have fun on my bike, and yeah, it works for me. So I keep doing that.
Is there a process you go through after each event, like to absorb, what you did and I guess make sure you've ticked all those boxes you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, definitely a bit of reflection. Like if it doesn't go too well, try and think why it didn't go well. Maybe you had too much expectations on yourself or something like that. And I've kind of reflected a bit back. I've reflected a lot actually about the weekend, and it's a hard one because, like I said before, like if you told me the day I landed in France, you're going to make a top 16, I'd sign it without even looking at the rest of the paper. But yeah, when you make it, it's like, okay, I want to be in the top 8. And I'm sure if I was in the top 8, I'd want to be on the podium or whatever. So I've reflected on like why my semi was so average. But some of it's learning, some of it's just BMX, to be honest. Like it's a cool feeling. I genuinely felt like I was fast enough to be in that final, which is a cool feeling. I'm happy with top 16, but I'm not completely satisfied. Like I want to be in that top 8. So yeah, a lot of reflection's been done, and I'll continue to try and learn and understand how to crack into that final more often, but also that semi-final more often, because it's becoming more and more consistent now. So
Yeah.
I'll just keep doing what I'm doing because it's obviously working.
So obviously at the end of the race, once the dust settles, a lot of people sort of get a chance to wind down and have a chat. Was there a lot of positive feedback for you from the other riders?
Yeah, actually, it's weird. Not many people's opinions matter to me. But I've had a few sort of riders that I really respect message me, just saying like some really nice words about the weekend and about my racing, and it just sort of solidifies my confidence in myself right now. I always struggle with, I guess, confidence. Like that's something I've always struggled with, is like actually believing in myself 100%. But I've had a few really nice messages about my racing and about where I was. But it's weird for me because, to be honest, the weekend felt normal for me. I didn't feel like I raced better than I normally do. Didn't feel like I was a different person. But I think I just showcased myself better than I have before. I'm the same person I was last year or the year before, and the same skill set. But I think it's just a bit more redefined. And yeah, I think I was in a good place mentally on the weekend, so I was just able to showcase it a bit better. And yeah, so much feedback, so much support from people in France, but also people back home, New Zealand, Australia. I've had so much support, and people reach out and say well done to me, which is really cool, because at the end of the day I didn't make a final. I only made a semi, but still to have the support and people saying well done, it's really nice, because yeah, keep on going.
You've really been given the best possible opportunity you could have in the lead up to this event, haven't you? With working with Frenchies, riding for Inspire. Do you think you could have been able to achieve the same thing from New Zealand if you were in New Zealand for the last 6 months rather than being in France?
That's a tough question. I think you need the racing. I don't think I'm a better racer than I was 6 months ago. I think I'm probably a little bit more confident. I think that might be the difference, but I don't want to say no. But yeah, like you said, I've had such a cool opportunity to come here and get this racing experience. And to be honest with you, I haven't had as much training as I thought I would. I kind of thought before I came here, like, man, I'm gonna have so much training over there, because that's all I do in New Zealand is train. There's no racing. And since being here, I've probably had 4 or 5 weeks of actual training. Every other week is got racing in it, so you don't really train race week. And so I haven't actually trained that much. I'm really looking forward to now. Actually, Colombia's not that far away, so there's not that much training time. But I'm really looking forward to whether it's next year coming a bit earlier and getting a solid 2 months prep before racing, with Jeremy or with whoever's here, and digging deep training wise instead of just racing. But definitely the racing helped me leading into this Worlds. The support I've had from Frenchies, Aspire, the club is insane. Like, it's insane. And that's some of the thing, like before the gate in the semi, I just like smacked my chest, and it was like just the people. It was for the people that support me, because like I put on Instagram, like the people who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And to be honest, when Inspire signed me, I didn't really believe in myself. I was like, man, like these guys are taking a bit of a risk on me. But now I genuinely think like, no, I actually belong here, and I fit into this team. I deserve it. Where I think when I came here, I didn't completely believe in myself, and the same with my parents. Like back home, they believe in me so much. Over the last 12 months, I could write a book on the shit I've been through, and you wouldn't believe it. But yeah, it was such a cool feeling. It was basically Worlds last year. I remember that was one of the shittest times of my, excuse my French. That was one of the worst times of my life.
Sure,
Everything,
surely
everything,
the word for shit in French isn't shit.
merde. That was one of the lowest points that I remember, just with everything going on. And I raced the Worlds last year where I shouldn't have, and got motoed. And I remember going home like, I don't think I'm ever going to be. I remember watching. I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to be good enough to be in that quarter, in that semi. I remember, like, and then I did the 2-week quarantine, and I was just, I had so much time to think about where I was, and I was just like, this is shit. Like, I was thinking about everything so much. So to have a complete 12-month switch around this year, I feel like I'm still growing. Like, I feel like so many people have messaged me saying it's the best they've ever seen me race, and to be honest, I feel like I've got so much more to give, so much more to give. Even my lap time I did on Saturday, where it was the 7th fastest lap, honestly, I felt like that wasn't a right lap because no one was in my way for half of it. But I felt like I made a few mistakes, and I was like, man, if I actually had a half decent lap that one, I actually could have even been higher up that list. And don't get me wrong, 7th is unreal. I remember looking like, holy smokes, 7th fastest lap is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I just think I've got so much more to give, which is exciting for me.
So I think I was going through the moto sheets just to see who you were up against in the first round, and you were ranked 40th in the world. Have you seen the ranking since then? How much has this changed your world ranking?
I haven't actually looked. I think, like, the world ranking, obviously it comes to every UCI point. So I think the World Cup ranking, which is purely just World Cups this year, I think I'm 20th.
Oh, okay.
But the UCI ranking, that obviously comes into play with the C1s and everything. And to be honest, I haven't done that many UCI races this year other than the World Cups. I'd say I would have got a few points for top 16 at the Worlds, but I'm not actually sure on that stuff. Again, it doesn't really bother me. Yeah, I guess it's something that you can look at some days and make yourself feel good by if you're high ranked. But I genuinely don't think I'll be high ranked. There's certain riders above me that probably have just done more UCI races, and there's certainly riders below me in the ranking that are faster than me that just haven't done any racing.
Yeah.
How that ranking system works, I guess.
Since you didn't get the mic out and do the mic in the pits this year, were you actually the recipient of any interviews in the end?
No, I actually thought I was going to be. Straight after the semi, this official came and grabbed me and started walking me, and it was just doping control, so that was no fun. But, no interviews this year. But no, I must say I definitely enjoyed this year's racing more than I did last year's interviews.
Yeah. All right. I don't have much else for you actually. I reckon we'll call it there and catch up with you again sometime soon.
Cool. Thanks for chatting, and thanks to everyone watching for the support. And yeah, hopefully we can talk soon.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.